This truly is an excellent hard rock record. You know, it's got drama, there's bombast, there's a kind of theatricality to it. Hi guys, welcome back, and hello if you are new. So after examining the falling of empires on 2022's Impera, Ghost are finally back with a brand new album in the form of their 6th record, Skeletá. So if you're not familiar with Ghost, they are a band that began as a sort of doom metal project, I guess, or like heavy metal, I guess, under the name of Papa Emeritus and his Nameless Ghouls. With each new record, a new Papa would emerge and they would kind of unveil a new era of the band, essentially. I think it was a brilliant trick that really kind of cultivated a very loyal fan base and created a lot of drama and, you know, really created a moment when it was kind of moving on to the next stage. So over that time, we've now moved over to Papa v Perpetua, which is the name of the new Papa, the new era that we're in. So in order to understand Skeletá, I think it's important to get the context of the evolution of the band. You know, on Opus Eponymous, they started out as kind of a doom metal idea, but then I feel like more progressive and slightly psychedelic influences were seen on Infestissumam. And then after that, things kind of ventured into more of a straight metal kind of approach on Meliora, which is an absolutely brilliant record. But then after that, I feel like there was more of a gothic idea, and the idea of atmosphere was explored a little bit more on Prequel, which is one of my favorite Ghost records for sure. But then after that, it was the arrival of this sort of hard rock opera kind of vibe, and really Ghost kind of stepping into the light. There was a lot of positive sounding, I think, sounds on that last record. And then that kind of puts us firmly in the idea of the 80s with Skeletá. But it's important to remember that Ghost, I think, have always been characterized by solid riffing and really brilliant melodies and massive, massive choruses, no matter what the era is. So thematically, this record is kind of, it's Ghost, you know, obviously talking about the Dark One, Satan, all that sort of stuff, but it really has a sense of joie de vie. You know, this record is about being alive. You know, in terms of themes and things like that, it is very much kind of living in the moment, and I think that's so kind of apt, especially with, you know, the way that the band are doing their, you know, their show at the minute. And I don't know, it just feels like it's got such a kind of crackle of energy about it. There are tracks like Cenotaph or De Profundis Borealis that have this sort of real sense of movement, of kind of like, you know, just propelling you through, like you're almost like flying. It's a weird sort of way of explaining it, but like, yeah, it reminded me of like The Never Ending Story or something like that. So whereas I think Impera kind of, you know, had some songs that were a bit riffy, it's very much kind of the focal point of Skeletá. I think, you know, riffs like Watcher in the Sky, for example, that kind of, I feel like, was the blueprint for Skeletá. And every, you know, kind of section of the song is I think, geared very much around guitar. And there are some amazing guitar solos here. I kind of lost it a little bit when I found out that Fredrik Akesson is responsible for all the leads, because it sounded like him, but I wasn't sure if it was definitely him. And he has such a beautiful style, it's very recognizable, but he's also incredibly versatile. And I think, you know, when you're putting together solos that are as show-stopping as these, you need to have a shit-hot guitarist behind them. And another thing I've always loved about Ghost is their brilliant use of dynamics. And I think Skeletá is a perfect example of just how important dynamics are to push a song forward. And they just do it so effortlessly every single time. It really is the art of building something up. So for example, the second verse in Peacefield is slightly different from the first. It has a little bit more energy in it. Or Lacrima, the way that they go from that final solo into the transition into the chorus. It's really, really interesting and very, very well done. Even the little oohs, or like, you know, the cowbell in Umbra, when that sort of comes in, it just adds to that, you know, that excitement. Equally as well though, the album ebbs and flows really, really well. We've got the opener of Peacefield, then Lacrima and Satanized, but then Guiding Lights kind of brings things back a little bit with a bit of a ballad. Then we've got amazing tracks like De Profundis, Skeletá, but then it tees it up for the ending of the record, which is Missilia Amori and then Umbra, and then this sort of really nice sort of post-credits Excelsis, which I thought was really, really, really well thought out, because there have been times for me where the tail end of a Ghost record is where I kind of dip out a little bit. It's very well front-loaded, but the back is kind of a little bit, And as I said, there's no secret to the band's choruses. You know, they're brilliant at writing hooks, and we've got, you know, Satanized, Lacrima, but I also really love Mark of the Evil One. That's got a really, really great sort of catchy chorus. Peacefield, I think, is pretty much like instantaneous, but really, really great way to open the record. I would say also that a lot of the tracks on here represent these sort of different musical personalities that make up Ghost's DNA. You know, so you've got some ABBA on Guiding Lights, with those kind of melodies and the way that they're sort of delivered, I guess. And then you've got elements of like Queen on the pre-chorus of Satanized. There's kind of some proggy vibes on De Profundis Borealis. The Def Leppard worship on Missilia Amori is amazing. That bass just takes complete center stage. And then you've got like Motley Crue kind of elements on Umbra with that sort of cowbell. And it's just really, there's even like Hall & Oates, I thought, on Skeletá, which was really interesting. And these are all brilliant, brilliant performers, but it also sounds very much like Ghost. I feel like Ghost have really kind of got, this is their sound, and they're sort of putting everything that they know into Skeletá. And that stretches into production as well. Initially, I wasn't sort of so keen on the scratchy style guitar tone, but actually I've come to really enjoy it. And the fact that the bass, the way the bass is mixed on this record is brilliant. You know, it's really, really strong, and actually made me realize how much of a secret weapon bass is with Ghost. For my money, genuinely, I think this might be the most cohesive record that Ghost have written. As I said before, you know, a lot of the Ghost records are very front-loaded, and then the kind of back end sometimes kind of doesn't really stick as much for me personally. And whilst there aren't, you know, like a Dance Macabre or Series or Spirit or He Is or, you know, Year Zero kind of thing, we've got Satanized, we've got Lacrima, two very good songs, but as a whole, it just feels like there's no dip in quality, because the quality is so high. This truly is an excellent hard rock record. You know, it's got drama, there's bombast, there's a kind of theatricality to it, but it also plays with the ideas of light and dark, and I think it explores new territory whilst also really refining the ideas of what Ghost have put forward for many, many years to, I think, a really, really high standard. And this year, I've been a bit weird with records, you know, like, I feel like it's getting harder for me to be like, wow, this is amazing, you know, like, this truly is groundbreaking. But I think, you know, maybe aside from like Deaf Heaven and Architects, this is the only other record which has really made me go like, wow, this is absolutely fantastic on my first listen. And I think, you know, a part of that is because you get that excitement. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I've seen them live like last week. But anytime you turn the record on, it's kind of like, right, okay, here we go. We're in like Ghostland. Yeah, and it's just it's a really weird sort of thing to try and describe. But I think that's what their charm is, really. There's honestly no escaping it. I think that whatever your opinion is on Ghost, it's undeniable that they are the next logical stadium headliners. And I'm sure that Download won't be far off as well. The era of Ghost becoming one of rock's biggest bands is very much here. And with Skeleta, they will be unbeatable. I have got some news. I am taking ratings out of my videos because I basically just, I obsess about it. I get too obsessed about it and I'm too sort of worried and it's causing me anxiety and I just can't be asked, basically. I just love talking about records and I don't know, sometimes I just feel like you don't need to necessarily rate something. But anyway, so yeah, this is an absolutely fantastic record. That's what I'm going to say. Go and listen to it. If you hate Ghost, listen to it. If you like Ghost, listen to it. Because I think everyone should just give it a chance. So that's it from me. Thank you very much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If you did enjoy the video, it'd be great if you could hit that like and subscribe button and share with any of your mates. So let me know what you think of this review. And now that the record is out, the album as well, because I always love to hear and chat with you guys in the comments. I will have another review, which is Behemoth's The Shit of God. But I am, as you can probably see from some of these suitcases, I'm going on holiday to Japan for a little while. So I will be back, but it will be like mid-May. So it's going to be a bit of radio silence from me. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. And I'll see you guys very, very soon for another album review, I'm sure.
I am afraid of eternity too.